Gotta start recording on the video side. We're just testing our cameras tonight, folks. This is a new program I'm using. I'm hoping it's all working. I apologize if we drop out, and if we do, it is what it is, and you get what you get. So, lately we haven't even had cameras.
I think this new software, you could even crop it to a more cinematic.
I think I could. I just don't know how to do it yet.
I think you could literally grab that upper center square and bring it down.
I tried, but somehow I got it set on a particular setting. So maybe before next week, I'll get a chance to look at it and see if I can fix it all.
Okay.
It is what it is. At least we got something. All right. Hey, GalaxyCast fans! Welcome to this episode. I have 3 people in the studio tonight. I have with me Eric the artist.
I am not directing Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
I have with me Gary the stud.
And I'm not working.
And I am Bob Crispin, your host, and I am directing nothing but my own homework at this point. And we're going to talk, well, we've only got 2 things to talk about, at least at the beginning of this episode tonight. And we thought these are 2 main topics that have to be discussed, and we're going to step away from Star Wars for a little bit. Yes, we do that occasionally. It's not the end of the world when we do it. We're going to talk first about the Captain Marvel movie that's been released as of last week.
We've all seen it.
And we are going to then talk about the Avengers Endgame trailer number 2, which got released this week.
We've also all seen that.
Which just came out after Captain Marvel.
Yes.
So, let's get to it. Alright, Captain Marvel. Probably, to be honest, the most controversial Marvel movie that has come out to date. Which is odd, I think. I'm not sure I understand all of the controversy behind it. I understand some of it.
Yeah.
I have some issues in the movie, and they're slightly linked to the controversy, but not really. And we can talk about those as we go. So let's talk about your guys' thoughts on Captain Marvel. Was it a win for you guys? Was Captain Marvel a win for all 3 of you, or how'd you feel about it?
Are you seeing an extra person I'm not seeing? Because you said all 3 of you.
Sorry, all 3 of us. I meant yes,
okay.
The 2 of you plus me.
Who's here hiding? I'm scared.
The dog. I'm going to ask the dog his opinion. Yeah. Eric, what did you think?
It was a win for me.
Yeah.
If you're going for just a simple answer before we get into the details, it was a win.
Yeah. Eric or Gary, what do you think?
I was entertained.
You were entertained?
So I did a job.
Okay. I'm like a 50-50 on this one. I didn't get the wow factor I got out of a lot of the other origin stories, which I'm actually kind of disappointed in. I wanted a wow factor. I wanted a huge, oh my gosh moment. And I'm not quite sure it happened. And I don't know if that's because we've had so many oh my gosh moments that I was on
it's hard
pins
to top.
and needles,
Yeah.
right? To top that. And I think part of it too is after you come out of Endgame, it's you're always expecting huge, big, and this never provided. Infinity War. This didn't provide the huge, big. It was just an origin story,
right.
And I had to walk out, kind of reminding myself that was the point. That was all.
This is the thing. I put it completely on par with Thor 1. The first Thor to me was not a knock out of the park. It was I got Thor. It was pretty good. It all took place mostly in this small town. It didn't have an epic scale to it
right.
I expected you could do with a Thor movie. I mean, it traveled to some other worlds with Asgard and all that, but it felt like it kind of focused on some weird things to humanize him. And then watching this, I'm like, wow, it's very similar. It's kind of small scale for a lot of it, focusing on the people. So to me, it ranked right in line with a Thor 1 type level movie. It had the burden of having to tell an origin story. It had the burden of tying in with other movies. It had all these things they had to kind of handcuff themselves with. But I still felt that they tried a unique way of telling that story, with dropping us in the character's middle of their life as an alien, and kind of backtracking while going forward at the same time and discovering with her what had happened. I like that approach. I thought it at least spiced it up a bit.
Gary, what did you think of the idea of not only being an origin story, but now we've introduced the Skrull conflict with the
Kree Empire?
Kree Empire, yeah. What did you think of the way they did it?
I actually enjoyed it because they kind of twisted it around on everything.
See, I think that's the one thing I didn't like, because now they're again, maybe it's because of the comics we grew up with, but the Skrulls were bad people. I'm sorry. No matter how you sliced it in the Marvel universe, Skrulls were never good people. They were invaders. They would come into your planet. They would basically immerse themselves in your culture without you knowing it. A lot of it was to spy on you so that they could basically take your planet over and be the only species left on Earth. I always looked at it as the idea of kind of like Independence Day, where instead of them throwing ships at you, though, they just invaded physically. And for them to try to throw this humanizing factor onto a group of people that what I read in comics as always being the bad guy. I know a lot of people were praising that, saying, "Oh, I love that different approach." I didn't like it. Actually, it threw me off, and I was like, "No, Skrulls are not good people. This is, And I guess that's the one thing that I found disconcerting about the whole thing was we played them out to be these good guys, and the Kree to be the bad guy. Where even in the Marvel comics, they both were bad guys.
Right.
Played throughout the whole thing, and I don't know. Maybe that's going to change later.
Well, I mean, the Skrulls fought back. They did do war. There was a war going on and stuff like that.
Right.
I think I liked the approach. I actually liked the twist because it really threw me off. I wasn't expecting it. And my wife actually turned to me and she says, "Wait a minute. Are they not the bad guys in this?" And I went, "I think they're not." We both were surprised by it because when she likes these movies. She's watched every one of them. She's dying to see Endgame. I mean, she's a fan. She's hooked. But she doesn't know the comics.
Right.
So I had to give her kind of the background. I said, well, yeah, the Kree and the Skrull, both bad. Skrulls have been bad, invaded Earth, fought the heroes. So, I'm expecting it to be kind of that whole, they'll play off the Kree as the good guy, the Skrull as the bad guy, in the end you'll find out they're both bad. But then when I found out, no, they actually switched it a bit. And they didn't necessarily the Skrulls were good, they just said the Skrulls were trying to survive. I do think that we're 24 years after that whole thing happened. Stuff can change. I do think there's a chance of Skrulls becoming, if new Skrulls are being born.
I still have a theory about it. I'll talk about that in a second.
If they're bringing in a new generation and that generation is learning to be afraid because of the toughness they've experienced, I could very much see them approaching a new Skrull generation as bad guys coming in and all that. I don't see it as being completely taken away yet. Just in the world of this one movie, I like the approach. I thought it was kind of neat.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing because I'm thinking of a 1990s commercial now, like Pepsi, the choice of a new Skrull generation.
And I really like Ben Mendelsohn. I thought he was.
I thought he did a great job. As far as the lead Skrull.
Yeah, I like that they put him in as a human form too. He is what Fury's boss looked like back then.
Right.
And I turned to Mary at one point and said, "That's the guy who plays the lead Skrull." Once you realized it was the Skrull, I didn't want to say anything at first. I knew right away. I'm like, oh, because I know who's playing him. That's a Skrull.
It's Krennic. No matter how you put it.
I knew that wasn't going to be Fury's boss. I knew that was a Skrull already. And when he leaned in and said, "Thank you for your sacrifice," and they revealed he was a Skrull, it was no surprise to me simply because of the actor. But then I turned to Mary and said, "By the way, that's the guy who's under the makeup." And she's like, "Really? Oh, that's cool." So she thought that was neat.
And even my daughter had leading into me because when he did that, of course, she realized he's a Skrull, and she went to me and she goes, "God, I hate it when you're right. I think you're right about the whole theory you have." So I want to go back to my theory that I've discussed on this podcast several times. I believe the Skrull have infiltrated Earth and maybe even infiltrated the Avengers. Now everybody's saying, well, now because of the way this movie turned out, that just can't be. That couldn't have happened. I disagree. Matter of fact, I think they've actually set it up to almost imply, if you were paying close enough attention, that it did happen already. That it's already happened. They're already there. And I say that because if you remember, the Mendelsohn character at one point says there's thousands of them everywhere on every planet. And I'm like, okay, Captain Marvel ran away with what? Maybe 100?
When did he say that?
Just before they went up in the ship and she took them off to go find their home planet, he said...
Oh, he said he wanted to gather them together.
Right, but that there's thousands of them everywhere on all of these planets.
They're kind of scattered.
Yeah.
They don't have a leadership.
Right.
Yeah.
But thousands. And they took away maybe 100 or 2?
Yeah.
And I'm like, that means there's 800 more somewhere on that planet, maybe even more than that, because he said thousands plural. I'm thinking they only took part of the Earth versions.
Well, no, I thought he meant out in space there. And I see where you can
get what I'm saying? Like,
I get it.
Like, I mean, the wordage, you know what I mean?
Why introduce the Skrulls as shape changers if you're not going to use them in the future?
Well, that's kind of, that's where I was like...
And also, Bob, he also said that they're good and bad.
So, right, he did imply that at one point, too, that there are Skrulls that don't get along with, like, his viewpoint on things.
So he said some got more
aggressive.
And so I do think they could go that route.
And I think they could. So I do think
But that's why I don't mind the switch up in this movie. I think it can still...
It just threw me off because I was expecting the bad Skrulls to be this group. And so, I guess somebody called it the Mandalorian treatment. And I'm like, I could see that where, like, initially on the Clone Wars, the Mandalorians were peacekeepers, and everybody's like, what? Hey, wait a minute. And if you remember, because we were in the Mercs at the time, Filoni had said to us, we are in the Mercs, thank you. Filoni had said to us, just hang tight, there's going to be an explanation later, it's going to make more sense, you're going to like what we do, But at first, and he literally said to us, "At first, you're going to be mad, and I know you are. Just hang tight and hang with me, and you'll see why." And once we saw the end point of that, I was like, "Okay, I accepted what Filoni did. I was okay with it. I just concerned they don't ever show the angry Skrulls, and that's it. That's all we see of the Skrull in
But
pre-war."
think about it now. Now you set that up for Phase 4. You don't see the Skrulls as being bad guys necessarily.
Right.
You just see them as, oh, they got away.
Oh, we feel bad for them.
They come back. You expect them to come back in kind of a neutral position, and they come back. One comes back evil.
Angry,
They
yeah.
cast someone new as a bad Skrull. It's going to have more impact. So I think the act of doing this can set up a greater character.
See, now
story.
Tara made a point after the movie I'd never even thought of. This is why I love her podcasting with us every once in a while. She said, "Dad, what if this is just to set up the Super Skrull? Like, what if the setup is the Super Skrull is the angry one, who then gathers all the angry Skrulls together and attacks Earth as the Super Skrull? Fantastic Four comes in, that whole 9 yards." I'm like, absolutely, that could be the thing.
Well, I also got a theory too that plays into the end games too.
Okay.
When Brie Larson, or I should say when Captain Marvel comes back, she brings the Skrulls along with them, and they assume the Avengers' personas. And that whole scene at the end with the walking with the...
They're all Skrulls?
They're all Skrulls.
And they use it to trick them?
Yes.
It's like a trick.
Well, I have 2 theories. That was actually one I was going to kind of say might be the case. I also think, what if Brie Larson isn't Brie Larson?
No, she's Captain Marvel.
Well, that's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, what if one of the Skrulls impersonated her,
Problem
came back to Earth?
Skrulls can duplicate your look, but they can't duplicate the powers.
See, that's wrong. In the comic books, they could.
The Super Skrull could.
No, they all could.
When they did the Secret Invasion and all that, they had the powers.
They had their powers.
I feel like that goes almost too far. It's like
that's
an alien species that can then duplicate your unique power that you may have gotten through an accident.
But here's the thing.
And they did say that you can't tell them apart from the humans because they go right down to the DNA and everything. So if you got the Hulk, who's already Banner is the Hulk too, then
I see what you're saying.
I was about to say that's the one thing about all the Marvel characters that's unique about Marvel versus DC. Most of the Marvel characters, their DNA has been altered. Captain America got the super soldier serum, changed his DNA. Hulk, he got hit with gamma rays. That changed his DNA. You know what I mean? So the DNA of almost every character in the Marvel universe is what makes them who they are. Even the X-Men, think about it. All DNA related, right? It's all... So to me, the Skrulls having that ability to be right like you down to the DNA means they can also have your powers because your powers are hooked to your DNA.
I see them definitely using this in some way and to some extent, but I think going the route of duplicating a ton of heroes is setting it up for the audience to feel cheated.
I don't think a ton. I think you're going to see a couple. I
can see some key things being used, definitely. But that leads me to my idea. I actually had a different theory about that same shot in the trailer of Endgame. We haven't even talked about the Endgame trailer yet, so wait till we get there. Back to Captain Marvel.
Valid point. Okay, so let's talk about some of the characters in Captain Marvel. What do you guys think about Nick Fury in Captain Marvel as the character?
He looked like Sam Jackson from the 90s.
That's the Nick Fury I wanted all this time. Like, I felt like... I don't think Nick Fury's been bad up to this point.
Oh, not at all.
But I think we kind of missed part of the backstory behind him. He just showed up, Avengers Initiative, and that was it, and now we're going. And I kind of we need his backstory. Well, again, it would have been great to have a backstory to him.
Yes, and I think the best Nick Fury we got still to this day is probably the one from Winter Soldier.
I absolutely agree there.
Where he was in the car, and they were attacking him, and he was using the gear to fight back.
And he's getting angry.
Yeah, I'm like, that was a good Nick Fury. He could see his planning and stuff. I like Nick Fury and Winter Soldier. Winter Soldier just did everything so well.
I agree. Of all the Marvel movies right now, that's the one that I would say is number one in my head.
It's really high up.
Yeah.
But anyway, I thought the way he looked, I mean, my God, I thought I was watching Sam Jackson from Pulp Fiction or something in the 90s. I mean, he was perfect. And the look was perfect. I mean, they've gotten so good with that de-aging process. It's flawless now. So I never once questioned that I was watching a digital character. I never once questioned I wasn't. I just made the assumption, like, looks good, and I kept going.
Right.
I thought he was great, and I like Coulson in this too. I
did too.
I liked their approach of giving him. He's kind of back to that blank slate. He kind of reverted. He's gained so much personality since both Avengers and then being on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And it was neat that as an actor he wiped that all away and he went back to kind of that by the book. blank slate.
I want to talk about Coulson in a second. Well, actually, let's talk about Coulson right now. Because Coulson, I think, is huge. And knowing the Skrulls are on Earth is now a huge thing. Because in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., one of the big things they talk about with Coulson all the time is his trip to Tahiti, right?
Yeah,
Like that's
it's a
how
magical place.
That's how he came back, right? That's how he came back to life. What if he never came back to life?
Right, it's a Skrull.
It's a Skrull. And in the last season, sorry if I'm spoiling it for anybody who has not watched Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I'm sorry, Eric, I'm going to spoil it for you a little bit, but I don't think you said you ever were going to be able to get caught up.
We're going to catch up.
He leaves. He leaves. He goes away. And I can't help but wonder if he goes away because the Skrull's going back home, and now they're about to reintroduce the original Coulson, because maybe they've got him, have technology to heal him and do all that.
What do you mean the Skrull's
bring
going
him
back
back
home?
in? Well, he leaves, right? Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., he leaves with Melinda May, and he goes away, and he tells them, I'm retiring, I'm done, I'm going to die, and I will not return. And it's kind of weird because May goes with him, and I'm like, but she's not going to die. Why would she leave and go with him? Unless she already knew that he was a Skrull and knew they were going to basically exchange the two back because he's on for the next season. They've announced that
Right.
he's in the next season. It just totally makes sense for them to use the Skrulls as a way to explain Coulson away.
So what about all that footage they showed of the machines working on his head and building him and from the flashbacks after being shot from Loki?
I think all of that was embedded into the Skrull to make it feel realistic for the Skrull, so he didn't make a mistake in revealing himself. If you get what I'm saying, like put it into his psyche somehow. Because it's Shield messes with heads and bodies, and
it seems quite complex.
It is. I think it would be very complex, but at the same time, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. got very complex towards the end. You weren't sure if you were in reality or if you were in the Matrix or whatever they call their Matrix, and there were a lot of questions about what was real, what wasn't.
What they did is they used that mind machine that they used on Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
And Coulson himself.
Yeah.
Then you got the memories and stuff that way, and that's how they went with it.
That's kind of what I was thinking too. Yeah. What about going back to Fury? What about the cat being the reason that Nick Fury had an eye patch?
I knew that was going to be the reason.
I did too.
I was waiting for it.
Yeah, that's what I said to Heather. I'm waiting for the moment.
I just wish it wasn't. That was the only. I liked Captain Marvel, but something I noticed a couple times was there was telegraphing going on, and it was, I don't think, the fault of the story or even the actors. I put it on the direction.
Right.
They did a couple scenes, like the last scene. Spoiler alert: we're going to talk about things that happened in the movie after Captain Marvel has kind of defeated everybody, and she comes landing, and she lands, and there's what's his name's character, Dr. Watson from Holmes with Robert Downey Jr. What's his name?
Jan somebody.
Jan Rog.
Yeah.
But played by
Jude Law.
Jude Law. Thank you. I couldn't think of Jude Law. So there she is. She comes down. She's seeing her old mentor, Jan Rog, if that name is correct, Jude Law. And he comes up and he's like, I'm so proud of you, And then he starts doing this whole thing. He's like, now you can beat me. You can beat me with a fist fight. And the thing is, this was a great moment. The moment she blasted him without doing any of the fighting and saying, I have nothing to prove to you, was a great moment that was telegraphed too much. By the directors told him, Jan Rog, the directors clearly made him overdo that scene a bit. Where he's like, come on, getting all psyched up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, they're filming it knowing what's going to happen and telegraphing what's going to happen to the audience, so that when that blast came, it didn't shock me and it didn't hit me the way it should have. It should have been a better, more moment. And instead, I'm like, oh, she's going to blast him. I'm just waiting for the Indiana Jones moment.
And you watched it so many times before that point, you kind of saw it coming, and that was the weird part of it. Like, you expected it.
Yeah, and it was because of the way of the direction telegraphing it. And I think they did a couple things like that. The direction telegraphed certain things in the movie, and I put it all, not on the story, not on the actors. I just think that the directors were a little heavy-handed at points, and that's the feeling I got. Those were my downsides. But I did like the thing they kept doing where Nick Fury kept almost getting his eye injured.
Yeah,
something
right.
would
Like
happen,
things would. Yeah.
He's like, no, I'm okay, and I'm just like, oh, that wasn't it. Oh, that wasn't it. It was kind of like a hot tub time machine when the guy with his missing arm.
As soon as we saw the cat and we knew that it was like an alien creature, I had this inkling. I even said it. I leaned over to Tara and I said, "That's going to be Nick Fury's eye right there."
I said it on a podcast.
Yeah, I
said Goose is going to take his eye.
It totally made sense. And when everybody kept saying, "Well, the character plays a major role," I'm like, I said to Tara, I'm like, he's a cat and he's an alien, but there's got to be a major reason and it would only make sense if So it was like almost too obvious. I agree with you that it happened the way it did. You know.
And those are my only problems with the movie, was some of the things being telegraphed and some of the moments that should have been really cool, either both funny or cheer moments, being too telegraphed for me. It didn't ruin the movie, and certainly didn't even ruin the moment necessarily. Just didn't give it the impact that would have had those "oh yeah" moments you were looking for. I think those peaks were missing simply because of how it was directed.
See, now my "oh yeah" missing moments actually had to do with some things that people are complaining about, and I hate to say it, but I think they have a right to complain about it. Supreme Intelligence, I did not like our portrayal of Supreme Intelligence. And I know I'm old school. I wanted to see the way it was in the comics, the almost like a brain-like looking creature, you know what I mean? I wanted to see, when they said, oh, the Supreme Intelligence, I thought, oh my gosh, we're going to finally see like a MODOK type moment, right, where we see this creature with this brain, and then we go in and it's Annette Bening, and I'm kind of like, what? No, that is not Supreme Intelligence. First off, Annette Bening as Mar-Vell was my other problem. Why did it have to be a female? I just don't get it. I don't understand why you had to change Mar-Vell into a female character. It didn't need to be done. It didn't push the story farther, other than it helps make a political statement for somebody.
I felt it made a statement to her as a character, too, though. It made a statement as someone she looked up to, that whole connection she had, and that thing that kept pulling back her memory. And I felt it didn't bother me at all. And it didn't bother me seeing the Supreme Intelligence either, because a lot of this movie, and again, this is the Marvel Cinematic Universe's way of telling things, the movie was about memories. And the movie was about taking memories or altering memories. And so to make that character be a memory that's trying to pull something out of her, and think about it, they want that information she had.
Right.
So that's the visual they're using to try and re-trigger her thoughts. I think we'll still get an actual Supreme Intelligence in a future movie with the Kree. I think it was somewhere else. I don't think this is its only form. I think they were this is the mind trick it's playing on her. So that's why it didn't bother me, is because it doesn't not give us the Supreme Intelligence later. It's just how they approached her at trying to extract the information they wanted.
But like I said, that part didn't bother me as much as the fact that Mar-Vell was a female, and we were trying to use that as a connection. I'm not buying this idea that she never had a male role model in her life that helped her. And to me, that's what I think we were trying to tell. Like, we were trying to, in a roundabout way, say there were no males in her life that helped push her story forward, so we're going to use this character and this female role. And to me, that bothered the ever-living snot out of me. And I guess it's just because of my political viewpoints, and I just kind of felt like I got an ideology shoved down my throat that didn't fit in. It doesn't fit in the Marvel Universe, the way they tried to pigeonhole that in as Mar-Vell. I think if they'd have left it as the original Mar-Vell, as the guy, as all of that, it would have fit, and nobody would have had any complaints at all. Everybody would have been like, yeah, I love this movie, strong female character, I'm all over it. It's the way we tried to like wedge that little female thing in that just didn't feel normal to the comics, and I get it. I get the director and producers and everybody wanted to make a statement. I'm just not sure this was the way to do it. I just don't think that was... I don't want to say politically correct. It probably wasn't the right time and place to make the statement, I guess, is where I was bothered by it. Gary, your thoughts?
I think you're looking into it too much.
I probably am reading into it too much, but...
Because I'm with Eric. It didn't bother me at all.
Okay.
And I'm a fan of the original Captain Marvel.
Right.
I mean, I have those old books and everything.
Right.
I know, but then, again, I've come to accept that the Marvel Cinematic Universe isn't the comics.
Right. And maybe that's my problem. I'm still stuck in my comic book world.
They do some great stuff.
Yeah.
But let's face it, Jarvis, to me, was a butler.
Right.
We've never gotten the Jarvis butler.
That's bothered me.
We got a computer. And
I mentioned that, it bothers me.
And they tied it into becoming the Vision, and which was never the way the Vision was created by Ultron differently.
By Ultron.
But it's all enough working together in the cinematic universe that it works for me.
Right, and then later on, Jarvis is a computer, though.
He is.
He is, yeah.
Right.
So...
That Tony got inspired to make the computer, or his butler, into the computer, and therefore...
Right.
And then Jarvis stood for something, too, right? Like, it was a
there was a...
It was an acronym. I can't remember what the acronym was, but it stood for something. But I guess that's probably part of my problem, is I'm still... I live in my comic book world. I'm expecting my comic books come to life.
Right.
And the MCU has never done that. They never have. There's been very few moments where I went, oh my gosh, that's my comic books come alive. Captain America was probably one where I felt like almost like 95% of the movies was my comic books come to life. Winter Soldier to a large extent did it. And I think maybe that's why I latch onto that one as much as I do. There's a couple others that I feel like Thor, I thought, did a pretty good job of, like,
Avengers did a
bringing
good
my
job.
comic books.
The first
Avengers did an amazing job of bringing my comic books to life. But then there's ones that fell hugely short of that. And it bothers me when they do. I mean, it really bothers me when they come short of the comic book expectation I have.
Well, if you're going to go that way, then you might as well hate Ant-Man and Ant-Man and Wasp and...
Initially, I did. And I gotta be honest with you, and we talked about that. The first time I watched Ant-Man, I didn't like it. I didn't at first. If you remember, I said that. But then I watched it a second and third time and went, okay, now it's growing on me. I'm okay with it. And I think that's maybe my problem, is I'm still expecting my comic book versions. And it's taking my brain a while to drop what I know and what I've learned and what I've read as a kid. And again, I want my nostalgia moment as a kid, and I'm not getting them. I feel like I'm getting robbed of them
I feel like I'm getting them. I feel like I'm just getting movified versions of them that are not, I don't. If I want that exact moment, I'll go read the comic. It's not like I expect them to shot for shot, frame for frame, suit for suit, make the comic over again.
Right.
But I'm getting Captain America with the shield taking out an airplane. I'm
Yeah.
getting the fight between Tony and Cap and the Winter Soldier, and I'm getting the end of Civil War, which is a fantastic, with Vision flying through the air, firing his head laser
Right.
at the ground, and Spider-Man swinging through and taking down a giant man. I'm like, this is awesome. I'm getting those moments enough that when they change up certain things for the cinematic universe, I roll with it, because I'm like, where are they taking me? I need some surprises. And that's why I didn't mind the Skrull twist, because it's like, otherwise I would have just known everything that was going to happen in this movie. And I kind of liked that it twisted it around. I said, okay, so what's happening in the third act? I got to follow now. Because I was very, it got me more interested.
Now, you know what I thought was funny is all that controversy about the green suit, right? Oh my gosh, the green suit. Did it make any difference in the movie at all?
No, it was the Kree suit.
None.
We knew it was the Kree. But
So for all the craziness that everybody went through, and I was kind of like, and we even said, who cares? It's probably the Kree suit or whatever, or who cares? And it was fine. You know what I mean? It was absolutely fine. And then I thought it was hysterical that they take the green suit and make the Captain Marvel suit by twisting a knob out of it. I'm like, come on.
It's high tech.
Right, it was just high tech, and I was good with that.
The one thing I did is when they were making the different suit colors and all that, they even showed the original.
Yeah.
Original Captain Marvel suit.
Right.
Yeah.
I like the neon one.
Yeah,
I thought it was funny too.
I was like, that's kind of cool looking, but I did.
Tara would keep it.
I like that.
Ooh,
I did see that they released a bit of concept art from Endgame, and it looks like Marvel's going to have the sash.
Oh, is she really?
They're putting the sash with the flow off on the side.
Oh, that'd be
on the
great.
suit.
See,
Just to bring that
I would love.
It's also been 24 years, so
Right.
you got to assume that she's going to have changed some things up, put some things on from her travels through space, change her look. So I think it's going to be even a little more.
And the one thing I liked about the whole thing is they kept the helmet, headgear, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, with the mohawk and the whole 9 yards. That I was like, yes. The whole way through, I was like, yes. I thought it was funny though. This movie though too. Through the whole movie, I'm sitting there going, "You can fly. You can fly."
She doesn't know.
You can fly. It's like
The only time they flew was when they were launched. No, she never really flew.
She never really flew until the very end.
Water, and she didn't know the power level.
Right. So at the very end, when she finally flew, I was kind of like, yes,
when she's floating there in the, still in the.
And I said to Tara, I said it felt like that Smallville moment, where you're like, you can fly, you can fly, you can fly, and she finally flies. She's like, oh my god, we've been waiting for the whole movie for that. I wasn't bothered by it. I just thought it was funny that we never saw her fly till the end, and she finally figured out, oh my gosh, I can do this.
Okay.
So what did you think of the two tags at the end?
Well,
I love the last one. Anybody that had a cat.
I loved it, but somebody made a point that I had not thought of.
What?
It doesn't fit in the timeline.
It does. I saw a thing about it.
How?
Because you don't know when that's taking place. Just because Fury's in the seat doesn't mean it's after the snap. That shot could have been.
Oh, I'm not
months
saying
later.
after the snap. I'm saying if the Tesseract is in Fury's office and it's 1990 something.
Yeah. They have it when Avengers starts.
Correct.
They're doing tests on it.
But if you remember, the Tesseract went off into space.
Oh, did
Didn't it fell into the water? Stark recovered it.
Yeah,
It burned through the bottom of the plane in Captain America.
It took.
It shot Red Skull away, but it didn't go.
It didn't go with it. I thought it went with it.
It burned through the plane. Tony's father dug it out of the water. They find it in the ocean.
Oh, that's right.
It's on Earth.
Okay.
And that's why they're saying Captain Marvel came to Earth. She knew it was here where she could do her tests. That's the whole reason
Okay.
she came to Earth.
Marvel
and snuck into Pegasus because they had it. She could use it to do her tests, and then she stole it.
Okay. All right. So
it does
now
tie
it
in.
fits.
It does
Okay.
fit. I had to watch a
When
video
somebody
myself
said that, I was
because
like,
getting confused.
I was kind of like,
it's
wait a
not
minute,
the
you know?
one on Vormir. It's not where he got sent to. That's a different
okay.
one.
That's a different
It
one.
it connected and it shot him away.
Okay.
But it stayed on Earth because Stark recovers it.
Okay. I didn't think of that.
Yeah.
So you guys just clarified something and I did not.
Because I thought about it
through.
too for a bit. And I'm like, God,
How does that
There's
Tesseract-
actually a YouTube video I watched which shows the history of the one Tesseract specifically
Right.
through the Marvel Universe, and it does fit.
Okay. All right. It's good to know. I didn't realize
But
that.
what I like though is anybody that owns a cat
Totally
knows
gets
that.
yeah.
Totally
Or
gets
ever
that.
had a cat.
See,
You know?
here's the thing. One of the loudest laughs I had in the whole movie was that comes up. It's sitting on the desk. I'm thinking, oh, this is a sad moment. Like Fury's been snapped away. I'm not
Right.
realizing the time yet. And then it goes, and I'm like, I just lost it. That first little heave
Right, like
of
the little-
noise,
yes.
I lost it. I'm like, oh, it's gonna vomit up the Tesseract.
Terry even goes, here it comes, you know, like.
And the best part is you get the slime trail after it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's just perfect for anybody ever own a cat and seen it puke.
The one thing I thought would have been made it funnier is if Fury had walked up and gone, oh, come on, and like brushed it off or something, you know what I mean?
What would have done me and even where I laughed harder is if there's like some fur with it.
Right, yeah, like an actual hairball
You know,
came up
I got
with
it.
it,
I'm
right?
sorry, I'm thinking of
A
this
tribble
now.
or something, you know?
They missed out on a big moment. It's on the desk. It hacks it up. It lands. You get the big laugh.
Yeah.
Laughter dies down because the scene's taking a while. Takes its paw and knocks it off the desk.
That
It should
would've
have
been
knocked
funny.
it off the
Yeah.
desk.
Yes, actually, that would have
Oh.
been funny. But what about the first teaser, though? The first
Loved it.
Easter egg? The idea that she comes back and they're trying to figure out what this signal's
Yeah.
doing.
I love the details they put in. Like they bypass the battery. They're making it
Right.
run longer. They don't know what the signal's doing, but they're sending it out. That it shut itself off.
They
They're
don't know why it
they're
shut
reboot
itself
it. I
off.
want to keep doing it. And even Black Widow's line of "This was important to Fury to do as his last thing. I want to know what it does."
Right.
The whole moment was
Yeah.
well done.
I want to know who's behind it. Then
Yeah.
she turns around, there
Boom.
there she is.
Yeah, where's Fury?
Now, have you guys heard about the controversy in the Disneyland parks about... good. So this is something that I thought you guys might want to know about. And I didn't know about it. I ran across it by accident on Facebook. Apparently Disney, the weekend of Captain Marvel, put a woman in the park. They showed the front third of a plane. They had her dressed as Captain Marvel to take pictures with people. And the comments section of the Disneyland park, so if you go to Facebook, look this up, there's something like 6,000 comments. Every single comment, get this, was about how hot the woman was and that she should have played Captain Marvel over Brie Larson. And that Brie Larson was cardboard acting throughout the entire movie. And that's where I was kind of like, for the first time, I was actually kind of offended by a lot of what people were saying. Because, I'm sorry, Brie Larson, I thought, did a spectacular job.
She was a soldier, so she had that
playing
kind of
this
demeanor.
role. She had to be the way she was. That's Captain Marvel, and if you don't get that, then you don't understand the character nor the history behind the character. So to me, I was kind of like, you people don't get it. Like, you don't understand. This girl's not supposed to be all like, you know.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be somebody who's in the Kree army, works for the Kree, is kind of a hard-nosed soldier, and that's the way she thinks. And I just was really bothered, A, that they would compare the two people, but more the fact that they thought Brie Larson was an awful actress, and I just didn't get it. I mean, you guys didn't feel that way,
Nope.
right? You thought that Brie did a great job with this
I
role,
love
right?
it. I enjoyed the character so much. I am very excited. I'm excited for Endgame, but I'm excited to see how she interacts with the other characters now.
I am
Just
too.
that little tease they gave in the Endgame trailer, which we're going to talk about in a second, with Thor, is enough to make me go, oh, I want to see this. I want to see what she does, who she throws down with, how they're connected. I know.
I almost want to see what Black Widow's reaction is to her more than any of the other guys, you know. Gary, what do you do you feel like Brie did a good job? Did she do justice to Captain Marvel here?
Oh yeah, but the only problem I got was I seen Kong Skull Island and Star Wars
Right.
the whole time. That's what I got. It's not because
Wait, Star Wars?
Yeah.
She was in Star Wars?
No. Let me explain. You got
Okay.
Sam Jackson and you got Ben Mendelsohn. All right, you got
Mace Windu and Director
Krennic.
Krennic. Okay,
All right.
sorry, I didn't put those two together.
And then you see Kong Skull Island because
With Brie.
both
And Sam Jackson and Loki.
Well, but Loki
Oh, that's
wasn't
true.
in it.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
But if he comes back in
Yeah.
Endgame, you're going to have,
Right.
oh God, now we got Kong Skull Island
Right.
going on.
So
I guess I never even thought of that until you just mentioned it
You
now.
know,
And
every time I watch,
Yeah.
every time I was watching the screen, it's like, okay, where's the big ape coming from?
Right.
What do you think of the references? Like, not just the Radio Shack and Blockbuster and True Lies, the cutout.
I thought they were all great.
I liked one of the best ones. I thought was simple was when the Skrull came around in the house and is sipping the soda.
Yeah.
And it's totally Sam Jackson from Pulp Fiction. Same kind of pose.
See, no, I
sipping
never
the
got
soda.
that because I've
He-
never
he
seen
looked
Pulp
very much like
Fiction.
it.
The one I liked was the Right Stuff.
Yeah.
Yes,
Pick it up.
yeah. I thought that was actually a hysterical moment
Now,
too.
did anyone pick up on this? And you must have, because you're big on musical cues.
Okay.
There was a part in the movie where I'm going like, why is this movie feels odd to me a bit. I don't know if it's pacing. Like I said, I already had some trouble with the direction, but I was trying
Right.
to place it. And then it clicked, and I was fine with it. Because there's a scene where they're walking through Pegasus when they've gotten off on their own, and the background music's playing. And I'm like, this is totally incidental music from a 90s movie.
Yes.
This is not current orchestration style.
No.
This is a throwback orchestration music
Yes.
that's throwing me off. It's making me feel like I'm watching a movie that didn't just come out, like it's an older movie. And I thought that was some of the direction that was genius. I think they not only tried to reference 80s type thing or 90s type things, I think they tried to make a film style that felt like it came from the 90s, so that the movie felt older.
That was the last thing I was going to talk about, but you brought it up.
Okay.
I went and did some research because I felt the same way. I was like, the music in this didn't feel right. It didn't. Then I realized that the first off, it was a female director for music, which is the first time in, I think, ever in Marvel movies.
Okay.
She did a brilliant thing. She went back to old Danny Elfman. Some of it's John Williams, not a lot of it, but a lot of Danny Elfman. I'm trying to think of some of the other directors from.
Who did the music for Lethal Weapon? Because it had a
little bit of that feel to it.
at
Yeah,
points.
yeah, and other than the pop music you were hearing, which is very 90s.
Yeah.
She did take some motifs from 90s movies and kind of interweave them inside of this. So there were some kind of like Lethal Weapon feeling.
I'm glad it wasn't just me.
There were some James Bond feeling moments that I caught on to. So she grabbed onto even Batman style themes thrown in there a little bit. There's definitely a 90s feel to the music. So if you just listen to the music, because I came home and I downloaded the soundtrack right away. I'm like, I got to figure out what is going on with the soundtrack. And I started to realize it's not modern orchestration.
No.
You're right. It's old 90s orchestration. It's throwback
and
orchestration.
I think all that was very intentional so that this movie, because they're coming out with a movie that's supposed to take place first in the cinematic universe. Well, not first according to Captain America, but like first before the main.
Before
series
everything
of
else
Avengers and
happens,
Iron Man
right.
and all that, by a good 15 years or 20 years, depending on exactly when in the 90s it takes place. But it's happening a month before the most recent movie is coming out.
Right.
So I feel like they stylistically had to do that to separate it so much, so you feel like you watched an old movie.
And I'd like to point out that even all the way back to Captain America, the orchestration in Captain America had a 40s vibe to it. So if you weren't into swing music and all that kind of stuff, you didn't like that orchestration at all. But if you were into that old era of music, which I love swing music and I love that big band style stuff. They threw a lot of that into the music for Captain America, and it was all over that. And this one, 90s motifs were thrown in all over the place. I mean,
this is one of the reasons I don't like it when I hear people like Terry Gilliam recently came out and he's like, superhero movies are crap and they just need to go away and all this, and certain directors bash on them.
Yes.
And I'm like, I don't think you're really looking at them because there is some serious craftsmanship going on in there. There's some serious thought
like there's
into
thought.
details into things. Yes, it's got the themes of the comic books and superheroes bashing and flight and superpowers and laser beams and whatever.
Right.
But there's a lot going on to ground these things that's, I think, extremely well done.
And I think it's storytelling more than anything else that people are missing. They see the special effects and be like, oh, it's crap.
Yeah.
But there's some good storytelling going on in some of these movies. That's what I like. Overall, how would you guys rate this? 0, don't bother, 10, must see in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Where do you think this one lies in the Marvel Cinematic Universe? What do you guys think?
Gary,
you want to go first?
Gary, go first. Okay, I'm going to say 7.
Okay.
A solid 7.
Okay.
The only thing I didn't really like about it, which I can't think of right now.
Yeah. We'll either come back to it or we can edit it in. Edit.
Eric, what do you think?
I gotta go a half point. I'm just a little higher than that, 7.5. 7 sounds a little too low, 8 sounds a little too good to perfect.
Yeah.
7.5. And most of my trouble with it, in terms of being a must-see in the Marvel Universe, yeah, you should see this before Endgame. Make sure
Right.
you see it
I
before
think
Endgame.
yeah.
It's a total tie-in, and it tells a lot. But all of my points off, I think, come down to directorial choices that I simply felt were too telegraphed. It took away those peaks from the moments of the movie that would have pushed it beyond for me, that would have made me, like I said, pump my fist or just like, get into it or laugh extra loud or something. I felt like the jokes and the action sequences were a bit too telegraphed.
Right.
They worked. They just could have been a lot better, and I put that all in the directing style, which again maybe is a bit more of that whole '90s feel.
Maybe it is.
So, but I'll set it a solid 7.5.
See, I was going to say 6, and that's because I've always given origin stories for Marvel about that 6 to 7 range, because the reality is the first Iron Man was not that spectacular, being honest. Captain America, I think, was a little higher than most of the origin stories. Thor was...
You're biased.
I am biased. I'm not going to lie. It also had Dum Dum Dugan,
There's
so
a
how
Captain
can
America sitting right in front of you.
Well, and it had Dum Dum Dugan, so I
Yeah.
can't. But I mean, I also felt like Thor fell flat as an origin story. I felt like Hulk's origin story kind of fell flat all the way back when it came out. They all kind of fall flat.
Which Hulk movie are you talking about?
I'm talking about
Ed Norton.
either one, and to be honest with you, I think
Well,
they both
Ed
fell
Norton's
flat.
is
The Ed
actual-
Norton was better.
That's the actual origin story.
Right.
Yeah,
It was
That's
better.
got Tony Stark in it.
But I just kind of felt like it fell flat too, and I
It
just
did.
I feel like all the origin stories always come up a little bit flat, no matter what you do. You have to tell the origin story, and I get that, but there was no wow factor. I just don't know. I walked out of the theater going, I missed a wow factor in this somewhere, and I don't know where I missed it or how I missed it. And maybe it's what you're talking about, Eric. Maybe there's telegraphed too much, and therefore the wow factor moments got lost somewhere in that scape.
I think it's because you had no investment in the character. That's all.
That might be. I don't know. I've never been a huge Captain Marvel fan. I'm being honest. Captain Marvel was always kind of like a background character to me. I mean, and I get it. They want to set her up to be a big deal to help save the world with Thanos and everything else. I just never got that impression of that comic book character, that was the power behind Captain Marvel.
And they're also leading into the Phase 4. I think they're thinking way beyond Endgame, because
They have to be
20 or something they said are planned. Some in the pipeline, some are planned. But I think their plan is to go more cosmic with everything.
Well,
so Captain Marvel is definitely.
Remember, we've
leading.
still got Adam Warlock sitting out there somewhere. That's
Yep.
something, you know what I mean? Like, we keep leading into these other things. There's been references to Galactus, but we haven't seen him yet. So there's
I still think that's what they're
there's
leading
these-
up to.
I
as
think
the
so,
big
too.
bad for the next phase.
next phase. I think, yeah, absolutely. I think Silver Surfer comes along, and Galactus is going to be your next big bad boy.
You need something threatening the entire Earth.
And it would also be a great way to tie in Fantastic Four and all these other crazy people that you got to bring in at some point. So
Some people say that we're going to get a Nihilus early, and some people say we shouldn't.
it would actually make sense to bring Annihilus in first and then bring Galactus.
With the multiverse and everything.
Right.
Especially if that's something that Ant-Man could come across.
Absolutely. Do we want to...
Yeah, we'll pause,
Okay.
because we're going to talk Endgame.
Sorry.
He's got the involvement idea.
I'll pause our audio.
Oh, that's right. Actually, can you run the audio for a second? Because I could put something in before we talk Endgame.
Sure.
I actually have to make some retractions. And I set myself up a reminder.
Okay.
Hold on. So before we move on to Endgame, I wanted to just throw in some quick retractions. In a previous episode we did, 1 or 2 ago, it was very recent, we talked about Alita, Battle
Yes.
Angel. And I actually had 2 bits of information wrong, and I don't like being wrong about things like this, so I wanted to convey them. One, I thought that Alita, Battle Angel, the manga, was all the way back in the 80s, and it's not. It actually came out in 1990.
Oh, really?
So it's a little more recent than I thought. Also, I said that it had never had an anime adaptation. It's a manga that never had one and went straight to movies. It
Yeah.
actually had 2 episodes, 2 half-hour episodes made.
Oh, really?
Of a mini movie, I guess, about it that were done. I've never seen them. I don't know how they were. Obviously, they're not
Mainstream
or
or
break
anything.
the bank great because you don't hear about them much. But I had those 2 bits of information wrong previously, and we here at the GalaxyCast like to get our information right when
Absolutely
we're
we
not
do.
speaking opinions. So there you go.
And even when we speak opinions, we're always right.
Yeah, we are.
Gosh darn it. Is your hat bothering you tonight?
I keep seeing this
Oh, the-
strap back here, and it looks like a
Like
wrinkle
you're
in my
nude?
head.
Oh.
It looks like a wrinkle in my head, and I go, why have I got this huge? Oh, that's right, it's my strap.
Eric's not getting that old yet. There's no wrinkle here, people.
I have a little bit of one, but it's not by any way near that pronounced. But it looks like a leather strap.
It's really weird when I go to the screenshot because it's like screen
Yeah.
all the way down. I've always thought that was odd. Oops.
Trying to see what all my messages are.
I'm just having fun with the cameras right now, folks. So we've got a new program we're using. I'm hoping it seems to be working out. I think you guys are going to enjoy a better experience with us. Our old program, for whatever reason, stopped functioning because I did not update. I think it was Adobe Flash Player or something weird like that. So then I went and updated it. It still didn't work. I don't get it, but it's okay. We figured it out. I used a different program, and this is open source. So hopefully, as they update, it'll get better as we go. My only thing I don't like is I don't have any choice over the transitions. They're very bland and blah transitions. I can either fade or just completely cut, and that's all I have. I wish I could do more. I can go live with this, but I didn't want to do that to us yet. No, Gary's back. Yeah. Feeling all right?
Yeah.
Cool.
Just
Stiff.
dinosaur death.
Yeah. I was gonna say stiff, but that's what she said.
Oh. I'm surprised I didn't go there first.
Trying to see if the world's dying.
Or just checking memes.
Are you ready to talk about Endgame, Gary, before we go on the
I
show?
want to read something real quick.
Okay.
Hope the video landed.
Yeah, right?
Awesome.
This is riveting for YouTube right now. So, like, what are they doing?
I shall do hand puppets. This is an amiibo.
I still haven't started yet, but one of these days I'm going to do a Facebook Live and start going poster by poster.
Yeah, we have to do that.
Yeah.
The woman that's running the store right now,
Yeah.
her daughter's been accepted in the West Point.
Wow, nice.
Oh, awesome.
They had a huge meeting last night with
All the West Point cadets.
there's only 6 in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And 4 congressmen from Pennsylvania and the leader or whoever the commander is of West Point
Cool.
last night.
That's awesome.
So
Okay, we ready? Time for the Endgame trailer. Okay, so the second thing we wanted to talk about tonight was the second official trailer for Avengers Endgame.
And apparently it's the last one we're going to get before the movie.
Is it really the only one we're going to get before the movie?
That's what they've said.
That's unbelievable.
And from what they've said, and I can't buy this, they're saying everything you're seeing is within the first 20 minutes of the movie. Everything they said they released apparently as social media information, videos, trailers.
I actually
it's
buy
all.
it. I actually buy it.
Them in the suits, though, and we're going to get there, being that early in the movie seems a bit of a rush to me, but I have a
Not
theory
if there's a
on this.
massive battle at the end, but I also got a theory about the whole trailer. So let me start with that.
Okay. So first thing I'm noticing,
Yes.
we're seeing shots from both current movie and the past.
Yep.
All the past shots are black and white, except for the color red.
Right. Which implies what?
The Soul Stone.
Reality Stone.
Or Reality Stone. That's
Right.
red. So no, because wasn't the Soul Stone what she was strapped in and it was red?
No, I believe it was the Reality Stone. It's red. Let's find out.
We're
Let's
going
go to
to
Google.
I love how we're prepared before the broadcast.
no internet.
I lost my internet.
Ah, I can check on my phone. How is this still playing?
I don't know.
Because you already watched it and it's still
Yeah, it's
in the
cashed
cassette.
in.
It says it's the Reality Stone. The Soul Stone's orange.
So it's the Reality Stone.
It's the Reality Stone.
Okay.
So apparently, I think it ties into the stone color.
I think so too.
I mean, it could just be a visual, but it seems like that would tie in.
I think it ties in that, as I had said early on, I think he accidentally activated the Reality Stone, not the stone he thought he Remember, he just got the gauntlet. He's not sure how to use it.
He's made a different reality.
I think he's altered the reality plane, and that's why when he snapped his finger, these characters don't die, because in reality nobody does, because all the entire reality is altered. And that's why when Doctor Strange says there's like 4 million whatever many thousand, and Avengers only went in one, and that's because reality has only been altered in one.
Right.
So that's where I say I think you had posted that online, Eric, and on Facebook, and I kind of went, yeah, that makes sense actually. I thought it was interesting that they show Clint for the first time
with a family.
With a family, and that obviously is back in time.
No.
People are
Don't you
saying this
think-
shot is right as the snap happens. People are wondering if you see the rest of that picnic sequence and the snap
And then
happens there.
she
It-
disappears, maybe?
Right,
Yeah.
and this is the first time they showed his family.
Well, no, we've seen his family.
We've seen his family, you're right, but what I'm saying is the first... I think they actually... I don't know. Maybe I think they're looking back in time even farther than that one Avengers movie where they ended up at the farm. I don't
But
know.
How
Maybe
old
I'm
was his
wrong.
daughter? His daughter wasn't very old in that movie.
I guess that's true. So you're saying maybe his daughter, that's his daughter and
I
not
think
his
that's-
wife?
I think that's his daughter's wife's in the
See,
background at
everybody's-
the picnic table.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's true. Now, who do you think Cap is burying?
That's a shot from him carrying what's her name's casket.
Yeah.
Oh,
Agent
from
Carter.
Carter's casket?
Yeah, again, it's a it's a
Oh, I
past
totally
shot
forgot about that.
because
Because of the
it's
red.
black and white with the red.
Yeah.
Because Asgard's gone, but we're seeing all these shots.
And you're right. It's very prominent that red is the color that they keep
Yes.
emphasizing in every single composite shot of black and white. And that's where I think you're right. I think that's giving away which stone is actually being emphasized here and what the point is. And then I thought it was interesting, like, as we cut into scenes and we're looking at actual characters, here's Hank Pym looking at missing... Scott Lang, excuse me. I keep doing that. Looking at missing persons.
Yeah.
But the house in the background, I think it's his house.
It's his house. That's how long he's been gone.
Right.
Because of the overgrowth and
I
stuff.
think he's been in his multiverse for so long that it's taken that long.
Some people are saying it's been like you figure one summer a house could look like that without
Right.
being maintained. I think he's been gone a few months,
Yeah.
and I think when the movie starts months after the snap has happened.
I almost
If not
say,
a year.
I want to say almost a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would think a year's gone by, and people are trying to still cope with the idea that they're the only ones left.
And actually, I'll
behind.
say a year because it gives time for him to go all Ronin like he's been doing
Right.
and all that.
Now, a lot of people were surprised you see Rocket on
War Machine.
War Machine's shoulder, and I was like, why is that a surprise?
Rocket's
They're
been
like,
left behind. He's with them.
Right, like why wouldn't he be hanging out with these guys and getting
Yeah.
used to working with them? And to me, it just makes sense that if he's left behind, he has no other
Yeah.
option.
He's. I think that's going to be a great interaction. Is there's a gosh
Oh, I know,
talking
right? Yeah.
raccoon walking
Yeah.
around the Avengers compound, and they're just like, "What do we do with this guy?"
Yeah.
What do you think of the new look?
I
of
thought it was
Ronin?
cool.
I love the like grunge look they got going on. I just
The Mohawk.
the mohawk, yeah. He's just got a really grungy look, and I love that look about him. And yeah, I don't know. I love what they're doing with Ronin. I really do.
And the whole trailer is just setting up. We don't give up. We do, whatever it takes. We do whatever it takes. I mean, that's the theme of the
Right,
trailer.
whatever it takes.
And the last one they leave on is Tony Stark, and they give a dramatic pause before he says his line.
I thought it was interesting. They really focus on Cap's
Shield.
shield, and then he's got this really dirty face and like
Yeah, he's going through battle.
yeah. Like to me, that's why I say that's maybe the only shot I think that maybe isn't in the first 20 minutes.
Yeah,
That looks like that might be in the middle of the end, the actual
right. And there's something in a cave and fire and lava and a switch.
Yeah.
But then, okay, so here comes the important scene. So you've
We're
got
looking at the end of the
we've
trailer
seen
now.
this shot before.
Yep.
But you got to remember, the last time they showed this, they weren't wearing these uniforms.
Right.
These uniforms have been added. I start wondering how much of this shot, and I've said this on Facebook, and I had a couple likes, but how much is this shot? Keep playing. Stop. Okay. So how much of this shot is pulling the Wakanda jungle shot from last year's Endgame or Infinity War trailer?
Right.
I don't think these are the actual characters we see in this scene. I think because here's the thing: that right now we're looking at a still of Tony Stark and Nebula walking with them.
Right.
That's a heck
Who are
of a,
supposedly off in space.
that's a heck of a reveal to put in the trailer that they made it back and they're okay. When so much of your marketing, including even in the beginning of this trailer,
Right.
is playing up the dramatic Tony lost in space angle.
Right.
I just feel like this is a troll, but the same way they trolled us the last time. Not in a bad way. I think they're trying to not give things away. They're giving you cool imagery while not necessarily giving you exactly what's in the movie.
Not-
Also, remember in this shot last time, is there a wide angle of this in this trailer? Go back a
No,
little bit.
there's not actually.
It all starts up high.
It's all really close.
Because Rocket was walking with them last time. In the previous trailer, he was walking at their feet, and I don't think these guys were. If we go back to that shot, if we bring up the Endgame
first
trailer
trailer.
1, this has been changed.
Yeah.
So if they're changing it already, who's to say it's not going to change more?
Well, and that somebody put online, and I didn't even realize it. There was a cartoon version of the Avengers where they do go into space and they wear spacesuits and all that, and they showed it almost like frame for frame, shot for shot, and it's pretty much the same shot by shot. And somebody said they wouldn't do that. You know what I mean? Like, actually, they wouldn't do that in the real life because they've never gone frame by frame, shot by shot in any comic book, towards any movie, towards anything. So why would they do it now unless they don't? That's not actually
So
going to happen.
do me a favor, bring up Endgame trailer 1.
Okay.
And we'll shoot it. Keep this tab open so we can compare the shots.
Oh.
But I want to look at the.
Well, I don't have internet. Remember that.
Oh, it might be back.
It's not.
It's not.
It's my computer in the way it's been functioning lately.
Ah.
Sorry.
Well, we'll check it later. But
Yeah.
I want to see. I'm going to have to see. I might be able to bring up my phone. You guys talk for a second. Let me see if I can bring this up.
Okay.
Well, that's why I think the shot with those new uniforms.
Yeah.
I think what you're seeing is actually scrolls. As they're walking along, they just take on the persona of.
I'm almost wondering if they do that and send them into space to
Right.
go fight, right? Just to show Thanos' people that the Avengers are still around, even though they think they've all just, half of them have disappeared. And so they want to put on the illusion that they're dead, but they're not, you know what I mean? So they have to do something to keep the illusion alive that the Avengers are still around.
It's possible. Hold on. There's an ad.
Trying to get there now. Yeah, I gotta figure out why my computer keeps doing that. It keeps dropping the internet and then it won't pick it back up till I restart the whole computer.
Okay, I'm getting there. So they show this exact same airport shot, like the exact same shot of the empty airport or Avengers hangar is in this trailer. Then they go to Ronin, they go through their other stuff. Where's the walking scene?
I wasn't sure they had one in the other trailer, but I might be wrong about that.
I swear, maybe it was the Super Bowl trailer. But there was a shot of all of them walking. Because you could see Rocket walking with them. I am not crazy.
I'm not either, I swear.
Sorry, Videoland. I know this is boring, but I'm going nuts. Does anyone else remember that shot?
I don't, actually.
Okay, well, I'm gonna have to leave it. Yeah, it exists somewhere, but why can't I find? I'm not seeing it in the trailer.
Sorry, I can't see it from that far away. Oh yeah, they do show Rocket walking with him.
Now, can you tell? Does it look like Gamora and Tony?
No,
with them?
Tony and Gamora are not in that shot.
I think they're changing this up.
Neither
multiple
Scott
times.
Lang.
Now, here's a question.
Scott Lang's not in that shot either.
These shots could be all in the movie
And it is a Super Bowl commercial, by the way.
if it's repeating time. If we see the same thing happen
If the
several
reality
times,
stone's
there's-
broken and we're
there's
seeing different
alternate
realities.
variations, those could be the Avengers uniforms in another reality.
Right, right.
They're not spacesuits or unique suits. What if it's their uniforms? So we could be seeing the fact that they're showing alternate variations of shots could actually be. We might even see that jungle Wakanda shot in this movie
Oh my gosh.
because
Could
of,
you imagine they keep going back and like almost Groundhog Daying the whole thing?
there,
You know
it
what
could
I mean?
be
Like,
something like that.
that would actually be funny, crazy, and like wild all at the same time. And I don't know if my brain could handle all of that.
And what if all of a sudden they show a shot and it's like they get for one shot all the old X-Men? What's his name? What's his name? Who played Scott Summers?
And they bring them all back.
and they-
Mark Singer?
Yeah. Brian Singer's version of the
yeah,
X-Men.
Brian Singer's version of all of them. James,
Right.
Logan, Wolverine,
all of them come
James
back.
Marsden?
James Marsden, or Marsden's his last name.
Yeah.
Scott Marsden?
Scott, whatever it
it's-
is.
Anyway, Scott Summers is his name. Anyway, James
Yeah.
Marsden. And you get Hugh Jackman, and just for one
Yeah,
shot.
just for one
Like
shot.
there's an edit,
have
and
them
they're
all.
doing something, and it cuts away, and it's another reality. And I think they
If
could
they
do
brought
some.
the original Fantastic Four back, that would be hysterical. I think Peter Chiklis and all that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? And then you would already have Chris Evans there. How crazy would that be?
I don't know,
That's
I
just
don't know if
awesome.
they'll do it, but
But it would be an awesome
there's
tribute.
some stuff.
It really would
there's some
be.
interesting stuff they can do with this movie. They may
They
go that
could.
route. I think they'll avoid that, but anyway, we might be seeing alternate realities in
Yeah.
that shot.
Yeah, because the one thing I noticed was Rhodey was bulkier.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, he had his
He's
armor
never
on.
been.
Yeah.
Right.
With that armor on. So it's like, is he wearing like a Hulkbuster armor?
Yeah,
The other
right.
thing is, you don't see Banner at all.
We've not seen any of what Banner becomes, and everyone is sure that he's becoming Smart Hulk. He's becoming.
Well, I think he is. It
Professor
only
Hulk.
makes right Professor Hulk. You want to call him, but
Yeah.
yeah, I'm pretty sure they're leaning in that direction. They have actually admitted that this is the most anticipated movie since The Empire Strikes Back.
I can believe it.
And I'm actually kind of wondering if this might actually be more anticipated than The Empire Strikes Back when it's all said and done. I really wouldn't be surprised. I know it's gonna blow. It's gonna blow box office records off the wall.
It's gonna be
It's
insane.
just gonna blow them out of the water, and I just can't imagine another film in the future being able to do
It's gonna take a while.
what Endgame, second Endgame is gonna do. I agree with you. It's gonna take a while, maybe a whole generation before we see another movie that can blow a box office record like this.
You know what I could see doing it? 5 to 10 years from now, they get the original Harry Potter cast to come back to play themselves older, and they tell a new movie.
Maybe
Something like that would get a huge.
Maybe.
You get all the kids who read it, all the adults who watched it, all the kids who are still reading it and growing up on it. A movie like that in 10 years.
I've been thinking like the only other thing that maybe could, depending on how they end it, if you wait 5 years and do a Game of Thrones movie that goes back and tells the origin stories, right?
Well,
I could totally see them.
It's supposed to be the.
I know that's the
series.
other show. I'm saying,
Yeah.
what if you did a movie too to tie it all together and wrap it all up? I could totally see that movie being a big thing, like Dragon Age movie with Game of Thrones could be just as big as this, maybe, But I don't know if many people that aren't anticipating this movie, even including my wife, who just really wouldn't care normally, is actually like, okay, I gotta watch the second one because I watched the first one and I have to see how this thing ends.
Mary has been anticipating it since the snap last year. She's like, we gotta wait a year. I'm like, it'll go by quick.
My son was just like, I can't believe half the people like that. That just he couldn't get over it.
Yeah.
And I knew it was coming, but I didn't want to ruin it for them.
So let's talk the end of the trailer. Last shot. Thor is standing there, or Captain Marvel standing there. Thor walks up to her, puts his hand up near her head, so that Stormbreaker comes flying up and catches right next to her head. Doesn't even flinch.
Yeah.
He looks her in the eye. She looks him.
Actually, she kind of smiles at him while it's going on.
She gives him a little smirk after it happens. We're watching it right now, so he's staring at her. She looks at him. She smirks the tiniest bit, and he goes, "I like this one."
Is it Stormbreaker? I've been looking at this several times.
Yeah, it's Stormbreaker.
Okay, it is. Yeah. I thought it was the original Hammer at first. The first time I saw it.
I didn't realize at the end. I hadn't really watched it.
Yeah.
You see the big grin Thor breaks out in his face from the wide shot?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
I didn't notice that before. He's like, I like this one. Then he smiles really big. So yeah, I'm looking forward to how Captain Marvel interacts with them and how they work that in. I'm looking forward to all the variations we're going to get, I think, maybe in realities. I'm looking forward to probably some of the biggest action sequences we've ever seen in a film. I'm looking forward to an ending that's going to probably leave me broken.
and the rumor is that there are reveals we haven't even been told about.
Oh yeah.
There are characters that are going to show up that you're not expecting, that are going to blow people's minds. You're going to be like, wait a minute, why, where, how? That's what I'm hearing. That there are going to be people that show up. They're going to be like, I can't believe they just did that.
You heard about the running time?
Yeah, 3 hours.
They're thinking it's going to be a 3-hour movie.
3 hours and 20 minutes is what I heard.
I didn't hear this one.
Almost 3.5 hours.
I've also heard that they're definitely thinking of putting an intermission in.
Yes.
10 minute.
Well, there's going to have to, believe it or not, even in our technology age, they have to switch over the USB.
Yeah, I can believe it. That's a huge movie.
Because it's a huge movie and a huge file. And they said they don't have the technology to send it that size of a file via internet yet, so they're having to send
USBs everywhere?
By USBs everywhere, yeah.
So
and they want to cap it. They don't want people to see it
No,
outside of, right?
Yeah,
So they need some control.
I'm thinking I'm thinking this movie's going to be fantastic. I hope.
I hope.
It could suck. It could
if
be the
it
first
sucks
bomb.
and all, I was gonna say if all this anticipation gets built up and it doesn't meet everybody's expectations, I don't know if you come back from that.
I mean, but here's the thing. So what have the Russo brothers done? They did Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
They did Civil War.
Yeah.
They did Infinity War.
Mm-hmm.
They are 3 for 3, and in my opinion, knocking it out of the park.
Every time. Yeah.
With massive casts, great action, and good stories, and lots of humor. So I'm hoping for 4 for 4.
I just can't see how they can.
No, I just thought of something that we didn't talk about back in for Miss Marvel or Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
Right.
The Stan Lee
Oh yeah.
Oh, the cameo.
Both the cameo and the opening.
Well, and you heard, well, Kevin Smith. I was brought to tears. I hadn't even seen the movie yet, and Kevin Smith was like, "I'm in tears. I can't believe I'm in Stan Lee's cameo, even though I'm not."
Yeah.
So I knew there was something going on, but the fact that he was looking at the Mallrats trailer, I'm like, oh my gosh.
Which is really his first ever cameo.
It was.
Mallrats.
It was
so
his
they're
very
paying tribute
first.
to his first ever cameo.
And the fact that Kevin, like, he lost it. He says he was a bawling mess in the theater. When they were watching, he said his wife was sitting there going, "Kevin, shut up, Kevin, shut up," because he just couldn't. He was the whole time he's there going,
Oh my
like,
God,
he just
yeah.
couldn't.
That would be-
And I can't. I mean, as close as Kevin was to Stan Lee, I can only imagine the feels that he had for that. I was in tears watching the tribute at the
the
beginning.
fact that they've changed
I
over.
just-
and I hope it's
I
the
couldn't-
same for
Endgame,
Endgame.
I hope
keep
they
it.
do it too. I just, oh my gosh, Stan Lee is Marvel Comics, and I don't care what anybody says from this point forward, is and always will be. I just watched today a documentary about his life, and I was just like, there's not enough words in this universe to describe this man and the thing he did for our lives, and for all of us geeks who had nowhere to go, and this man provided a place for us, and without judgment, without, I don't have words. That's the stupid thing of it all. And I was so blown over by the idea that they took a whole beginning of an intro and made it all about him.
Yeah,
And I was like,
thought that-
yes.
I didn't expect that when I saw it. I was
I
actually
didn't
choked
either.
up.
Yeah, you're right, Gary. I totally forgot about that.
And here's the thing.
I
I
shouldn't
know
have
the
missed it.
reality of the man. I
Mhm.
know that the people have issues with him. I know he did some shady business dealing. There's artists who felt like their work was, who not necessarily felt it. It's kind of proven that certain things were not given the credit they were
Yeah.
should have given to. But Stan Lee, in the end, is the iconic face of Marvel Comics. He's
Right.
that image that people think of. And in that regards, he brought a face to the company that could have just been this big, faceless entity, other than the heroes. And so to me, that humanization face is extremely important, and it is a very good tribute.
And I get it, people like Jack Kirby and others who've been upset over years, and I get it.
And Kirby
I totally,
is a huge part of the Marvel universe.
absolutely. I don't
Deserves
think
his credit.
without Kirby, there's no Captain America. Without Kirby, there's no, half the groups that we look at are just Jack Kirby, Jack Kirby, Jack Kirby. But at the same time,
Steve Ditko.
Steve Ditko is a huge part of,
Huge,
absolutely.
huge.
But at the same time, Stan was the one in public
Yeah.
putting his name out there too, and I think that's the part a lot of people forget is he was the one publicly going out, talking at universities, giving speeches, lectures, going to Congress to talk about the comic book authority association, whatever that thing was called. Comic Code is, trying to talk to them about what comic books are versus what they aren't, and what they aren't doing to society. In this documentary, I didn't realize how much comic books had come under attack in the 1960s. I mean, they were blaming juvenile delinquency on comic books. And I just, today I kind of chuckle because I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, in our modern world of juvenile delinquency, comic books are the least of our concerns right now.
Your kid and parents would be like, they're reading, I love it.
Yeah, yay. Which I just find interesting that, it just shows you that the world has changed that much that all of a sudden comic books are an expected part of our culture, so... Okay, so that's our thoughts on the Captain Marvel movie. We'd love to hear what you have to say. That's our thoughts on the Avengers Endgame trailer number 2. We'd love to hear what you have to say. And we're going to go watch the next episode for us of Star Wars Resistance. And we'll be back just after this break to talk about Star Wars Resistance. I think I should say Star Wars Resistance one more time.
Yeah, I think when we start
Star Wars Resistance.
Star Wars Resistance. You should save that probably just in
Okay.
case.